Hi, I'm Queen V.
And I'm Dr. E. Queen V, we're going to be talking about some really cool, audacious people. But one thing comes to mind before we get there. I think about products that we use, and we go to the store and we see different kinds of products, and mostly just say, I teach marketing, so I got to go there. I go down my Procter and Gamble aisle, and I see my Crest toothpaste, which I use. I see, my fabric softeners and things like that. And when I think about branding, and I think about, a conglomerate like Procter and Gamble, that gets into who are the brains, or what's the engine behind that big giant company. So let's talk about this. When I think about the different chemists and the people associated with branding and things like that, certain people come to mind. Who are we talking about today?
Well, today, Dr. E, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I love all of the above brands too. And, it is so interesting that I believe our largest producer of those type of products is Procter and Gamble. Everybody has heard of Procter and Gamble, but few people have heard of Dr. Herbert Charles Smitherman. Herbert Charles Smitherman. Wow, until I was doing the research, Dr. E, I had never heard of this incredible chemist who was known as the Jackie Robinson of Procter and Gamble. But what he was so brilliant at was he was responsible for the patents. So he did most of the chemical engineering of these products. And we never heard of him before. Did you ever hear of him?
Well, I tell you, I have not. But when I think in terms of using products like Safeguard, Bounce fabric softeners, Folgers coffee, Crush soda, just to name a few, I think about who these people are that, not only invented these products, but who are the people responsible of actually making the formulations and the formulas and the chemists behind the products. Let's talk about this person that's responsible for all these patents.
Well, it is my great pleasure because like we have said so many times before, it's not that this has been forgotten history. In my opinion, it's been hidden history, because why wouldn't we not know about the first African-American person hired with a doctorate degree at Procter and Gamble that was so responsible for these inventions and for the patents? It's mind-boggling to me that he is such a little known person in history, but he was audacious enough to believe that he could be an inventor and that he could achieve all that he did. Now he graduated from historically Black colleges. He went to Tuskegee, and he obtained his bachelor's and his master's in chemistry while at Tuskegee. And then he went on to obtain his doctorate. But once he obtained the doctorate, he was audacious enough, Dr. E, to believe that he could go to the greatest company in the world that supplied these items and make an impact. And what an impact he made.
Okay, so when you say going to the company and supplying products and et cetera, can you elaborate a little bit more on that so that our audience knows specifically how a chemist can come from the outside of a company, go on the inside of the company, and then excel within the company?
Absolutely. Dr. Herbert C. Smitherman Sr. made history at Procter & Gamble in 1966 when he became the first person hired there with a doctorate degree. As we said, he was instrumental in Procter & Gamble's growth because of his innovation, and during his 29 years working at the company, developed patterns for improving the formulas for all the products we mentioned, such as Crest toothpaste, Safeguard soap, Bounce fabric softener, crushed soda, Folgers coffee. I mean, the list goes on and on. Amazing man. And these inventions and innovations were crucial to the propelling growth of Procter and Gamble. So he was a huge innovative force there. And so we are really saluting him, Dr. E, because today he is our audacious story of invention. I am so amazed at this man because he did not let the racist tendencies and systematic racism of the time stop him from, first of all, going for his advanced degree, and then secondarily, for him to become such a force at Procter and Gamble for nearly 30 years. And even right now, his patents are responsible or mentioned in 31 other successive toothpaste patents. That means that there are so many companies out there right now that are not even related to Procter and Gamble that are utilizing information from his innovations. Wow, you talk about a legacy. That's what I call a lifetime legacy.
Well, that's amazing that you're mentioning all of the different things that he has done. It's just perplexing to me how his name just somehow did not seep into the textbooks that I read while in high school and even college. And so I find it amazing that people like him somehow have gotten lost in history, or maybe it's my limited exposure because of my educational background. Tell me, how did you find this information about him, and what inspired you to actually examine his background?
Well, Dr. E, I am a information hound. I am an information hoarder, I guess you would say, like the hoarding shows on TV. I am one of those inquiring minds that wants to know. And so in my research, when I was looking at all of these audacious characters that were hardly known in history, his name came up several times. Well, when his name came up originally, I didn't realize he was African American. And then in scrolling through the archives, I see his picture and I'm like, oh my God, how did I not know about this person? And so that is how it was through research that I found, but it wasn't, I've never ever heard about him in my entire life. And I had I grew up, going to African American schools with African American instructors. I think this is just a little known jewel from history that has been hidden from the history books. But we are exposing him on this platform today. And Dr. E, not only did Dr. Smitherman, was he so responsible for these innovations, but he was responsible for recruiting more people of color, undergraduate and graduate students into the PhD programs in science, chemistry, and chemical engineering. And that was his great passion in his later years. He wanted to pass the torch on to further generations. And I think that's admirable.
Well, to get the students involved into these STEM programs is absolutely critical, especially in this day and age. And so it's very important that we know our history, we talk about our history, and then we move straight into the future so that we can educate our young people and be educated ourselves. So basically, when it comes to the STEM programs, it's so refreshing to see young people, regardless of their race, regardless of their age, regardless of their ethnicity, to get into a program so that they can be like the individuals of our past or in our past that never really got a chance to shine, maybe in the textbooks that we read growing up or something, Queen V. But the bottom line, we're talking about it now. And so what this does, it will give that young person hope, saying, you know what? Here's a guy that became a great chemist. Here's a guy that went into a big giant company like Procter and Gamble, the first doctorate degree person to actually have the audacity, first of all, to apply to a company like that. And then secondly, to actually be employed in a company like that and to stay in a company like that for years and years to come. Obviously, he must have retired from that company, because how many years did you say he was there?
29 years.
29 years, that's a long time.
Years,
he made a wonderful career. And that gets into another thing, Queen V, when you have the stick-to-itiveness to not only join a company or to do something with your life, but to stick with it for all those years, that says something. That's passion. We talked about passion in one of our earlier episodes, and I talked about how passion can be a driver, and how if you find your passion, you can find an opportunity to turn that passion into a career or whatever. But obviously the passion to be that chemist, or the passion to succeed, the passion to keep moving, that kept him going in his particular career. Speak to more to that, Queen V.
Oh, absolutely. And what I love, like we were alluding to, not only was he excellent, just world class of the highest caliber of his field, but I love his heart, Dr. E. He spent the remainder of his life advocating for primarily African-American students, as you said, in STEM. But what I was thinking about with him, Dr. E, was what happens to a dream deferred. Think about all of those students, unlike him, that could have had a talent, an interest, a passion, so to speak, a desire for the same things that he was involved in, but weren't afforded the opportunity of an education. Where did all of that go? And so the onus is on us, as you were saying, to speak to young people and to speak to anybody, because you don't have to be young to have a dream, right, and to have that dream completed. Dreams don't have an expiration date. They really don't. We just retweak them, refine them, realign them. But we want to speak to the hearts of people to know, what, it's not too late for you to innovate your life, to be an audacious innovator of your own life. Decide what your passion is. Who are you now? Because Dr. E, I believe that everybody is different post-pandemic. I mean, we're not even fully out of it, but all of us have changed. Our desires have changed. Our aspirations may have changed. Our priorities may have changed. More people are into home and family and relationships, I believe, now, post-pandemic. So we always, at every juncture, have the ability to decide that we are going to be the audacious innovators of our own lives, like Dr. Herbert Smitherman.
That's well said. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I think it's so important for us to look at ourselves and not think in terms of what others think about us and what we ought to do, but to really think deeply within ourselves. What is it that I want out of life, or what I want in life, and what do I want to contribute in life? And then really know, we have to really know who we are and what we need in this world. I'll just say this. You mentioned, people can move forward based on whatever their dreams are. When I was just 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I was told that people that looked like me could not be teachers. But I just knew it in that little tiny kid's body, mind, and spirit. I was called to be a teacher, period. I didn't know anything about being a professor. That was not even on my radar. However, when you have a dream, whatever that dream is, whatever inspires you, do not ever let anyone say you cannot do that. Take back your control of self. What I would say, you said something about, there's no expiration date when it comes to dreams. I absolutely agree with that 1000%. I don't care how old a person is. If you have a dream, dream out that dream, live out that dream, and don't let anyone stop you from having that dream. I've seen so many situations where people in their 80s getting their high school diploma, because back in their day, they were denied the right to even go to school. But they go back to school eventually and they get that high school diploma. And people say, well, why are you wasting your time doing that? You don't need a high school diploma. But if it's something that's intrinsic within a person saying, here's something in me that's unfulfilled, and I must fulfill my dream, you gotta be like those individuals that we're talking about. You gotta get out there like Herman and say, you know what, here's my dream. I'm not gonna let any dream killer crush it. I'm not gonna let any dream killer tell me I cannot. You gotta keep going on. And we cannot use whatever we're going through today. We're talking about, you mentioned the COVID and how that's changing our lives. Yeah, we're all being transformed. And we don't know what's going to happen in the back end. But the number one thing is that we can always wake up every single day with a purpose in our hearts, with a dream in our minds and our soul to get us up to say, yes, I can. And you keep working at it and not allowing anyone to stop you from your dream. You got to fight for it. You got to do whatever you can. And so I'd say this, Queen V, when we talk about moving forward and within ourselves and the transformation that we're all experiencing with this COVID and the Delta, and we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring or whatever it is, we have to think about the inspiration. What inspires us to get up every day? What inspires us to go to work? What inspires us to go to school or to work out or to do these different things? No different than the topic for today. We have to be inspired. How do we get that audacious oomph, whatever that may be, to get us to get up and go for it?
I believe it has to be internal, intrinsic determination, Dr. E. And, we have our 5 a.m. Queen Champions Club group. And one of the things that we know is that, we can't depend on motivation, because motivation wanes. Motivation is kind of flaky. But when we are determined to develop the habits of an audacious sense of purpose, then that purpose will drive us. And I know that you know that so well through working out. I know that so well through ministry. I don't ever confer with my flesh, so to speak, ask myself if I feel like doing it. I made the determination. I put my stake in the ground. This is what I'm going to do. And, with God's help, I'm going to do it and stand up to it. And when we do that, that provides so much momentum for us. But we can't wait for motivation. If we wait for motivation, if we feel like, wait till we feel like working out, or wait till we feel like ministering, or wait till we feel like serving or teaching or whatever we're doing, we'll never get there. And I think that for people that are reliant on how they feel, that's why they're always up and down. We have to learn to rely on what we know. And what we know is that consistency wins the game. You will never be powerful if you are not consistent and persistent. And so those are the lessons in life that we want to share. Audacity is more than daring greatly. That's our definition of audacity. It's daring greatly. But you know what? In order to be an audacious person, you have to dare greatly on a regular basis. You can't be a one-hit wonder and think that you're going to have an audacious, fearless life. So it is a process, and we have learned to fall in love with the process, right?
Yeah, that is so true. You're making me think about another thing when it comes to Herbert Charles Smitherman. He had to deal with a lot of the racial barriers. He had to probably knock down barriers at every turn, every twist or whatever. And I say this simply because that's been my experience. At 64 years old, I have not ever been in a situation where there hasn't been something thrown at me when it comes to racial barriers, or barriers that are motivated by race, barriers that are motivated by, oh, we got to stop her. She's too excited about her job. So let's see what we can do to make her settle down, slow down. I've actually been in the situation where in academia, where I was actually tapped on the shoulder by one of my colleagues, and they said, hey, you gotta tone it down a little bit. You're doing really great in your classes and we know it, but you're making us look bad. So you have to tone it down. Now, let me say this. I was going through the tenure process, and it's like, well, you want me to excel. You're telling me I have to do all this work. You're telling me I have to achieve greatness and exceptional work in every aspect of the tenure process. And when I'm achieving and I'm excelling, because that's what it says on paper, then you tap me on the shoulders and say, well, calm down, tone it down, because you're making us look bad. Now, I say this because I've always been the only Black female professor. And as a result of being the only Black female professor, I have always been very sensitive to the fact that someone would always come to me trying to get me to tone it down. Even in my presence and talking to you, you see, I get all hyped up and I get excited. That's just me. That's who I am. But what are your thoughts about this? It's because we're sending mixed messages to people when we say, well, be your best, do your best, give your best. And there's an expectation in society that will say to people that have the inspiration to move forward, that you got to do your best, you got to be your best, you got to put in the midnight oil and work hard in order to achieve. And then yet there's another segment out there saying, but if you do all this stuff, you're making us look bad, so you need to tone it down. How do you deal with that? All those mixed messages.
You know, that's an interesting thing, Queen Sissy, Marilyn, and Dr. E. Yeah, I have several titles for you. But one of the interesting things that I found out is that, you know, and race is its own whole beast by itself. And we know it's real. Racism is real. It's systemic. It is born in the fabric of this country, period. That's historical. But, you know, even along the way, non-race related, anytime we want to excel above our peers, there is that crab in the barrel mentality of people that think, oh, you're shining too much, don't shine so much. Oh, you know, for some reason they feel like your light shining brightly dims theirs. And it's a false constraint. It's absolutely not true. We are all brilliant in our own lanes, but people that aren't willing to do the work that you're doing and get the results that you are getting will feel resentful, and they will try to pull you back, dim you down, dumb you down, you know, disparage you and discourage you. And what has really helped me is when I have listened to other people, mentors, that have told me to expect it. I really hit upon that myself personally when I started the Facebook Reclaim Queens and Blue Jeans ministry. And it grew so large, and, you know, a lot of people were coming at me and bringing it to me and being very critical. And I was wondering, where is this coming from? Because I wasn't doing anything but trying to bless and build others. Well, Dr. E, what I came to know and to come to find out that is absolutely true is be prepared for it. Every rung of the ladder comes with haters, naysayers, dream assassins, and those people that just don't want to see you outshine them. Outshine them anyway. That's my advice. Outshine them anyway. Do not let them stop you, because they are waiting, holding their breath that you will fail. And I say, let them pass out. Let them pass out, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? We joke and we laugh, but we have to laugh to keep from crying, because it's sad that people don't realize that they have the same brilliance. They don't have to be envious of yours or anything else, but they just have to do the work. So many people don't want to do the work that you do and that you did.
Well, I'll tell you, thank you, Queen V. I just think about how audacious Herbert Charles Smitherman was in his chosen profession and what the contributions he's given to so many people that enjoy his products even today. I mean, I know my husband, former profession was a dentist. He was a dentist for 33 years. And so we always had a lot of toothpaste around and a lot of the toothpaste that he's responsible for as far as being the chemist. And I'm talking about Dr. Smitherman. And you know, the only thing I can say when I'm listening to what you're saying, Queen Bee, is so important for us to always remember that we have to have the audacity to believe that we can succeed no matter what. Because not everybody's going to be for us. Not everybody's going to be our cheerleaders. We might be surprised when we think that there are people that are in our corner, and then we find out later they never were. It's important for us to be able to wake up every morning, wake up every day, or whatever we do, and really have a positive self-talk about what we are doing with our lives and why we're doing certain things, and to make sure we love ourselves enough to stay on track and say, yes, I can, yes, I will, and nobody's gonna stop me, nobody. And that's something, Queen V, that I like to say in my final remarks. It's that little 5-year-old girl that was told that she could never be a teacher. Well, my mother told me way back then, and here's a 5-year-old, imagine this. I run home and tell my mother I want to be a teacher because I so admired my kindergarten teacher and said, that's what I want to be. That's it. I want to be a teacher. And for the teacher to tell me that I could not be a teacher because little kids like me could never be a teacher, my mother said to me, don't believe the teacher. She told you a lie. I said, what? She told me a lie. She said, Marilyn, baby, you can be anything you set your mind to, but you got to believe that. And I want you to always repeat after me. I can be anything and I can do anything that I set my mind to. And to this very day, my mother's voice is in my soul. And I always share that story with people that really care about me. And right now there's people that don't care about me, but they're hearing the same story because that is one of the driving forces that's coming from within me. So, Queen V, we're running out of time. I'd like for you to wrap this up.
Well, I love your wrap up, Dr. E. I think that you said it all. Of course, I remember your beautiful mom, and she was always such an encouraging, powerful, brilliant force in her own right. And so I know that she is in, heaven's army, so proud of you.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. We are all just extending the baton on. And that's what we are doing with this podcast. Our hopes, our desires, our aspiration is to build others. That is my lifetime motto. I live to build others. That is what it is all about. It's not about even building an empire for ourselves, but it is to build others, to make them stronger and better and wiser, and for them to know that they too can be audacious innovators of their own lives. And on that is my final remark. But I have so enjoyed this episode on Dr. Herbert Charles Smitherman.
Thank you so much, Queen V. Where can people find us?
They can find us at queenvandre.com. And we would like everyone to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are doing this just because we want to serve the masses, to use the platform we've been graced with to build and empower, inspire others, and to pass on a legacy to the next generation.
Well, thank you, Queen V. We'll see our audience the next time. Have a wonderful and blessed evening, day, afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. We've got audacity to believe.